Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to introduce, very exciting and a very unique agentic workflow called AI engine optimization. And what is AI engine optimization? It is a process, a strategy which you take so that the likelihood to rank on AI engines like ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, Perplexity, Google search, Google AI search overview, that is higher. It is also known as a generative engine optimization. Some people call it AI answers optimization, etc. Now, there's no exact science to how to go about it, but this agent has been built by seeing some trends which people are following and which is actually kind of giving them fruits, giving them outcomes, which is actually enabling their brands or product to rank higher in these engines. Now, why is this important? This is important because it is estimated that the most people will gradually be moving more and more towards using such products for their everyday queries over Google searches and other search engines. Right? We are seeing it in our everyday life, right? So I'm sure that most of this audience will also agree to this. It's kind of intuitive. And also, additionally, the intent of people who sort of query on search engines and get answer is much higher, much deeper. Right. So after this preamble, let me actually give you 3 points which we have used in this agentic workflow before I show the workflow, which we have used to improve your ranks, improve your brand ranks on AI engines, right? I'm taking the assumption that this is for the products who already have some content, right? So rather than creating content from the scratch, what we would be doing is tweaking, repurposing their existing content so that the likelihood to rank on these engines increases. So first and very important stuff is that you have to ensure that your product is mentioned consistently across, in most places, not just your website, but also in the top mentions, which means that if, let's say, 5 different sources kind of speaks about your brands a bit differently, a bit too differently, right? So the likelihood for you to rank higher in queries in these search engines is low because AI would be confused that what is it that it is going to associate with you. So the important stuff for you to make sure first of all, gather where you are actually mentioned, where your brand or product is mentioned. The second step is to figure out that what is the best mention, so to speak, and then actually try to do that specific mention for yourself as well as in others. Right? The other and kind of more important, rather, step one should take is convert your content to flip content. Now, let's face it, nobody is going to read a top of the funnel content if you're going to write it. Nobody is going to, get introduced by a topic from your blog, right? People are going to use this engine. That's a given, right? So you have to actually focus on in your content. The focus should be on these 4 factors, right? Freshness, local intent, in-depth content, and personalization. It may not be that a particular piece of content focuses on all of them at the same time, but the more you do, the better it is. Which basically means that if you have written existing content, the workflow figures out where are the opportunities to introduce one or more of such elements and then converts it. So it's a pretty sort of doing lots of stuff under the hood, but this is another step. And the finally third step is that it is seen that either in LLM directly or in RAG style pipelines, few of the links actually appear more than others. So these are again your usual suspects: the top authority sites and the top, kind of like, for example, the top URLs about a particular category. So if you end up getting backlinks from these authority sources, the likelihood for your brand to rank is higher. Why? Because LLMs are going to crawl more from those sites, right? They are going to rely and kind of reference more on these high quality sites. Also, even if you're using a RAG pipeline, these particular sites are going to appear more on the behind the scene RAG. RAG means retrieval augmented generation, wherein you sort of kind of snap a search engine to your, let's say, answer engine or LLM, right? So even there, right, if high authority or high, for example, rank sites are more likely to appear. So basically, it's a commonsensical that if you end up getting more and more backlinks from them, which means that if they mention you more, the probability of ranking in answer search for your brand is higher. Right? So, okay. So let's now see that how exactly this whole thing plays out. So this is the n8n workflow wherein we are doing all these three things: product mention route, flip content optimization route, as well as backlink opportunity route. So let me actually run it. Right? You may not exactly see how I'm running it, but first thing I'm doing it is finding product mentions. So let me do it for a product called 𝐬𝐳𝐿. So 𝐬𝐳𝐿 is something, yeah. So 𝐬𝐳𝐿 is basically a product which is into creating product documentation, product videos, etc. So what has happened is that basically I have inputted about 𝐬𝐳𝐿. It is first going to scrape 𝐬𝐳𝐿's homepage, figure out what is it about, product description. It is using Gemini as an LLM to do all the processing and then sanitizing the input. It is actually creating a search query, right? Why it is creating a search query? This search query basically enables it to disambiguate. There might be similar sites, right, which may not be about what we are looking for. So it is basically appending these search results. So rather than actually searching for 𝐬𝐳𝐿, we look up for things which are specifically about the 𝐬𝐳𝐿 we want, right? It is then kind of crawling the web. It is figuring out. It is also sort of scraping the content in the real time, and it is adding it to Airtable. So let's quickly check what is sort of mentioned on Airtable. So 𝐬𝐳𝐿 is the, let's say, fastest and easy way to do this and so on, right? So it has actually found 18 high quality mentions from all these sources. These are mostly the directories, and it's like the Y Combinator list, which is high authority source. And it has even given us this mention, which it has found deemed to be the most representative of all these. Right? So basically, it suggests that what the 𝐬𝐳𝐿 founder should basically aim for using this particular copy in all of their product mentions, collaterals, in the mentions on their on even Excel websites and so on. Right? So this is about the product mention. We would be improving this workflow in order to basically kind of either automate or semi-automate it, in which that even the outreach can happen on one click or by LLM itself. Now, obviously, it is up to the discretion of these particular websites whether or not they are going to do that. But more often than not, if they have already mentioned you, it's highly likely that they're going to change the copy to fit what is the most representative one, right? So this is kind of a smallish effort, right? But we have seen this giving a lot of advantage to improve your existing ranks on answer engines. Let's move to other thing, right? So other thing was about this one, flip content optimization, which means that it is going to look at few of the content, and then it is going to actually optimize to suit it, to basically flip it, right? What is flip? Just let's refer this: freshness, local intent, in-depth content, personalization. So it is going to make sure that the content is as fresh as possible. If there are latest facts, etc., latest sort of information, it is going to, if there is a possibility to introduce some type of localized information, it is going to do that. It is going to make sure that it is deep enough, right? Like let's say it is talking about product documentation for XYZ industry. So it is going to go add in more depth to it. And it is going to personalize it in the sense that it is going to add in some kind of, let's say testimonials or some kind of statements, comments, etc., quotes, things of those nature. And it is going to personalize it for the audience, specifically for 𝐬𝐳𝐿. So these are the kind of things it attempts to do. Let's actually run it. So again, we'll do test workflow. So this particular agent, like more than one thing is possible to be done in the single workflow. Now, it is possible for the agent to actually do a handful of stuff, in the sense that it is going to crawl the website directly and figure out what is the most flip-worthy content. But for the sake of this particular demo, I have already given it 3 high-quality content, so that just to minimize the time. Otherwise, it would have basically scanned the entire thing. It would have taken its own sweet time to gather what is the sort of best suited, content pieces to quote unquote flip and then do it. But just to show you guys, I'm kind of just running it like this. Seems to have done it. So, okay, so the first blog is ready. Okay, this process is going. So it is in loop, right? So it first did the first blog, right? It first flipped the blog number 1. Now it is going to flip the blog number 2 and so on. All right. So this workflow is also done now. As you can see, there are 3 blogs which have been quote unquote flipped, and these are the new content, right? So let's actually see what is the sort of the new, how different the new content is from the old one. So I'm going to copy this new content, and I've already pasted the old one here, and let's do a diff. You see, it has done quite a few changes here. Yeah. So the step it does is that it basically, as I said, finds opportunity to freshen up the content, find local intent, you know, and find opportunity to personalize. And the final one was find make it more in depth, as in depth as possible. It may do one or more of them. Obviously, this is our work in progress, so we will be improving it in such a way that it will actually highlight what kind of things have been sort of used here. Like, is this freshening up only or doing other things, right? So this is something which we are going to release in the iteration 2. Now let's go to the third pillar, right? The third pillar is about finding backlink opportunity of specifically from the top mentions in this particular domain. The top mentions, from from the basically from what we see appearing on AI engines like Perplexity, like ChatGPT, Claude, and so on. So this workflow is also running in. The first step is kind of similar to the the first pillar, which is it is first figuring out the product description. It is kind of creating like a search strategy. It is then so that something else called Crusoe is not sort of covered. Right? It is also figuring out competition. Right. So this is important. The reason competition is important because you don't want backlinks from competition. First of all, the likelihood to get that is low, and secondly, that it is not going to give you necessarily the juice. The SEO juice, or in this case, AI engine optimization juice, is to be, it is sort of, it will pay more dividend to focus on sites which are high ranking, but not necessarily your close or even far competition. Right? So it is kind of doing an automated filtering. So let's see how it runs. Awesome. So this particular part of the agentic workflow is also sort of is almost kind of near execution. Let's see. All right, great. So here are all these referring pages which it has found, right? It has focused on as high quality as possible, which were already ranking high, right? So that if you can get, and these are not the ones which are already giving backlinks to do so, right? So if you focus on them, the probability to appear automatically in one of the search queries in these AI engines is going to increase. So all this illustrate an important point. Getting high rank on AI engine optimization is still an art, but it is worth investing time, because if you're too late, right, to do all these strategies, it is similar to SEO, let's say 12, 15 years back, right? People are kind of figuring out strategies, tricks and trips of the day. So that is there. Like we figured out these are the ones which are going to give you high dividends. So therefore, we wanted to agentify it, but it is going to be a work in progress. In the V2, we are going to automate, all these backlinking aspects, product mention aspects as well. We are also going to make it even deeper. The flip content, the strategy wherein what exactly should be done will be deeper. We are going to do something about the images and other media assets. And there are a few other aspects like, what to do about the broken links and stuff like that. Right? So let me know what your thoughts are. What have you found success by implementing something in Gen AI optimization, AI engine optimization? If yes, do share, right? And let's see if we can identify them. All right, ciao.